Our last miracle story is called Back from the Dead. Have you ever known anyone who died? Death is so final that we find it very difficult to come to terms with. We wish that the dead person could be brought back to life. Jesus' last miracle involving another person made that wish a reality. By now, Jesus had performed so many miracles that everyone was talking about him. Many of the Jews didn't like people believing that Jesus was the Son of God. They thought it would cause trouble with the Romans, and the Romans thought Jesus was a dangerous man. So Jesus kept well out of the way of people in power, because he knew they would use the smallest excuse to have him arrested and put to death. He and his disciples left Judea and crossed over the river Jordan. But while they were there, Jesus heard some bad news. He was great friends with a man called Lazarus and his two sisters, Martha and Mary. The women sent Jesus a message that Lazarus was very ill. Jesus waited 2 days, then said to the disciples, "Let's go back to Judea." "It isn't safe, Lord," said the disciples. "You will be killed if you return there." "My friend Lazarus is asleep," said Jesus. "Well, if he's only asleep, you needn't go to him," said the disciples. "I mean that Lazarus is dead," said Jesus. "And I'm glad we weren't there, because now I can really teach you to believe." Then the disciples agreed to go back with him, even though they all knew that they might be in danger for being Jesus' friends. When they got to Lazarus' house in Bethany near Jerusalem, they found that the dead man had been in his tomb for 4 days. Martha came out to greet Jesus, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said, "If you had been here, my brother would not have died." And then she said, "Even now, if you ask God, I think he will do what you ask." Jesus said, "Do you believe that I am the true Son of God?" And Martha replied, "Yes, Lord." Then she ran to her sister Mary, and they both went with Jesus to Lazarus' tomb. On the way, Jesus wept for the death of his friend. The tomb was a cave with a big rock rolled in front to make a door. Jesus told his disciples to roll the stone away. Martha said, "Lord, our brother has been dead for 4 days. His body will stink." And Jesus said, "If you believe, you will see the glory of God." Then he prayed to God and called in a loud voice, "Come out, Lazarus." And Lazarus, who had been dead, stepped out of the cave, still wrapped in his grave clothes. Jesus had performed his greatest miracle. But from then on the rumors spread, and it was only a few weeks before Jesus was arrested and put to death. And 3 days later, he too rose from the grave and visited his disciples again. It is this central miracle of Jesus' life that Christians believe him to be the Son of God.